What's going on, guys? Logan JYA here, and today we got Dragon Rulers once again in 2024. Be sure to smash that like button for this classic deck, and without further ado, let's get into it. Alright everybody, we got the Dragon Rulers update for 2024. All of the rulers are at 2, and we're going to see what this deck can do. Now, quick disclaimer, this is not a super competitive strategy, but you can probably steal some wins and maybe even a top at your locals. I wouldn't recommend bringing this to the next YCS, alright? But if you're nostalgic like I am for these classic 2013 Dragon Ruler strategy, look no further, I got a list for you. Let's jump in. Alright, first things first, I'm going to run through the rulers themselves. So of course, we're playing all the big guys at 2. That's what they're at on the ban list. We got 2 Blaster, going along with 1 Burner, 2 Redox and 1 Reactin, 2 Tidal and 1 Stream. And then finally, you got your double Tempest and the 1 Lightning. This is kind of the expected and accepted ratio among people who are crazy enough to try and play Dragon Rulers in any way, shape, or form in 2024. And frankly, this ratio does make sense to me. I don't think you'd want to beef these guys up a little bit too much. Otherwise, you could find yourself running out of the targets if you see the big ones in conjunction with the little ones. So this universally accepted logic does seem to make sense to me. Let's move on into one of our next engines, and that's going to be the Red Rose Dragon package. So we've got 3 of the Red Rose and then 1 of the Rocks Rose. I remember for the longest time, I had so many copies of this one right here, the bad one, and like no copies of the good one, and these are like a couple bucks, and this is change. So it was a pain in the butt to try and finish up this package, but you play all of these in conjunction with the 1 Basil Rose Shoot. This is one of the most powerful normal summons you have in the deck, because when it's synced off, you're going to be able to summon the Rocks Rose out of the deck, and then the Rocks Rose is going to search you the Basil Rose Shoot, which helps you spam the board with level 10 Sync Rose or things like Heraldic Seals or any other Link monsters that you're going to want to play. The next package that I'm going to show you all, I have to give all due credit to Team Sam, the man, the myth, the legend, because this was such a darn good idea. He was playing the Adventure package in his Dragon Ruler list, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that is genius, so I want to carry that over as well. So I'm playing triple Enchantress, 1 of the Wandering Biffin Rider, 1 copy of Rite of Armesier, 1 copy of Fateful, and then the 1 mandatory Draco, Break Your Back. Yeah, I wanted to cut back on the Rite of Armesiers just because this deck is already at 50 cards with how we have it built right now. I didn't want to beef it up. In fact, the best one to open, objectively speaking, is your Enchantress, because you can pitch this alongside a Stream or a Tidal to either do the Foolish Burial or get the Tidal out of deck. So I think it's a lot better to open this one, and this is the one you're also going to access through some of your combos, than seeing the Rite of Armesier, and of course it reduces our chances of clogging on too much of the single bit of engine. But again, Sam had a genius idea to put this in here, and I thought it made a heck of a lot of sense. Next package, this is another one kind of expected and accepted in the Dragon Rulers nowadays. We got to play cash, so we're playing 2 copies of Unicorn, 1 copy of Fenrir, 1 copy of Rise Heart, and then 1 copy of Tier Cash. So I'm playing the Tier Cash and the Rise Heart kind of as, so we have coverage for every flavor of Dragon Ruler that goes with our cash package. So in case we needed to search out 1 attribute to be able to summon a ruler, I want to make sure we had access to all of those. You can also use the regular Rise Heart to climb you into some of your Exceed plays. That one doesn't come up as much. It's an important option to keep in mind. And again, this one only locks you if you use its special summon effect. So you can boost its level and banish 1 from deck, maybe summon it back off a Birth without locking yourself. Only if you special summon from hand is when you're getting locked. I definitely also think there could be a case to play more of the Fenrir, being that he is the objectively speaking most powerful Kashtira monster. I only own 1 right now, and again, we're at a clean 50, as clean as that can be, 50 cards in the main deck. So I'm choosing just to play the 1 Fenrir. I think Unicorn is a little bit stronger because we really want to see Birth. It's a massive extender in our deck. But again, play with the ratios, find what works for you. I do like having the diversity of attributes though, because it pairs so nicely with the main stars of the show, those being the Dragon Rulers. And I decided I was going to include the other bits of the cash package here as well, so I'm choosing to play 2 Birth and triple copies of the Pressure Planet in the main deck. Again, you want to see this engine in some way, shape, or form, so having triple Pressure Planet to get you whatever you want, and Birth being just an extender and your follow-up. Massive, massive. These are some of the best cards in the deck. It's also an interrupt, all right? It's got that Banish from Grave effect, which can be pretty savage into a lot of matchups. All right, next I'm going to show you guys some hand traps. We got triple copies of the Ash in the main, triple copies of the Ghost Mourner, triple copies of the Ghost Bell, and then we're doing 1 Druis Worm and 1 Magnemut. So why are we choosing to play these hand traps? Well, these guys are dragons. I think that makes a lot of sense. And this is, objectively speaking, the best card to summon off Heraldic Spheres because it's going to give you a guaranteed search. Feels pretty awesome. I wanted to have this in deck in some way, shape, or form. And I wanted to have also another bestial to search off it. So that's the logic behind those guys. But the Ghost Sisters, the reason why we're remaining these guys is because they're all level 3 tuners that can be normal summoned into a ruler to make a Synchro 10. And they are all different flavors of attributes that work with the dragon rulers. So yes, maybe it would be better to play board breakers right now in the way that the format is, but these you have to also think of a little bit as engine pieces because you need those attributes to be summoning the rulers. So having a nice diversity of attributes in cards that are also doubling as your hand traps or as your synchro enablers, it's a pretty darn good thing. So that's why we're choosing to play the Ghost Girls in the main. And then finally, we're going to do some flex spots and tech cards to close things out. The first one being the Pot of Prosperity. So we are playing 50 cards, but reaching 6 deep. Yeah, I thought this one was a pretty good one to have, especially post-side decking. We got the 1 Gold Sarcophagus. This card is still at 1, which was kind of news to me when I was putting this together. I'm like, oh yeah, this should be a throw. What? This is still at 1? It makes a lot of sense. It's a crazy card. But this one, in conjunction with the Dragon Ruler, is insane. You can banish 1, search its respective baby. Yeah, that feels pretty good. I will also mention that there are some situations where you want to banish cash monsters off of this. If you hard open Birth, banishing a cash monster to summon back is not bad. Then I've got the 1 Sacked by the Grave, Called by. When they go to Ash that baby and you have the Call by in hand, yeah, that feels pretty good. We got the 1 Foolish Burial. You know, you got all your targets being the Dragon Rulers or the Adventure Package. And also theoretically a cash monster if you're going with Birth. And the last card in the main deck to spoil something in the extra. We're choosing to play the Azurune, which means you know we're playing in the extra deck. But that's everything for the main board, a clean 50 cards. Let's move on to the extra deck, which first and foremost, if you know anything about Dragon Rulers, you know we got to be playing our boy Dracosack. So make sure you got some of your favorite tokens set aside. I don't have one dedicated for the adventure tokens right now, but I maybe will someday. And we'll start things off with the Link monsters. I mentioned this guy before, but I'll say it again. Heraldic Spheres is a really cool interrupt that dragon decks have access to. That non-targeting bounce is insane. Floats into another dragon out of the deck, and your best target is usually Magnamut. If you've already opened Magnamut, you can use it to also tag into any ruler, and it'll be live in grave. You know the deal. Next, we got the 1 IP Masquerena going on with her slightly more expensive cousin. Still kind of expensive after the reprint, kind of a bummer. SP Little Knight. Yeah, we want to play these generic interrupts and board breakers. What more is there to say? The 1 Silhouette Rabbit, I brought this up earlier. It's a key end board piece. I am going to show you a combo at the end. Heavily inspired by Team Sam's idea to play the Adventurers, but I kind of wanted to finish up the board and go through my troubleshooting process of how I landed at this final build. Next, we got the Cherubini Weenie. So again, Sam's idea here, this you can use the Dracosack tokens to make and then automatically send your adventure package, meaning you're putting up an Omni Negate. So Dracosack equals Omni Negate. That's pretty strong. Now for one of our next Link packages, we've got 2 copies of Link Spider paired with one of the G Golems and the Decode Talker Heat Soul. So this is another Dracosack package. You can use your tokens to make the 2 Link Spiders. Those guys go up into the G Golem, summons back one of the spiders, and then you can use them all to make the Heat Soul. Heat Soul is awesome. And again, if you open with the adventure package, can put that up safely first and then commit to your Dracosack line later. You want to make this because this is going to give you 2 draws, one on your turn, one on the opponent's turn. And you saw how many hand traps we're playing, so that can draw us into additional interrupts for the opponent. It's one of my favorite parts of this deck, but also because it pairs with Mr. Access Code Talker, and this is our free Link 3 to get into him. So if you're doing that combo as well, this can be another way to clear out games or get those free pops, because you're lock and loading every attribute as you go through this line. Next, we'll move on to the X-Seeds. I invoked his name earlier, so we'll say right here we are definitely playing Dracosack. This was the best monster in the Dragon Ruler extra deck back in the day, and of course, we're repping him here and now in this extra deck as well. Apparently, these cards are kind of expensive now, so look through your bulk if you got the supers or the rares. Even those are a couple bucks. Then we got 1 copy of Big Eye. Don't sleep on this guy. This can be a key piece of removal for those things that you don't want to take off of the opponent's field. I actually accidentally banished this off of Prosperity in a game not too long ago where I really wish I had kept it to out this really obnoxious Synchro monster where if it was going to leave the field, it was going to float into something else. If I had kept Big Eye, that would have been the perfect way of sneaking it on over to my side and not triggering that pesky effect. So Big Eye, of course, he is the guy who steals your girl. This guy used to be like ban-worthy back in the days of Dragon Rulers. He never really got hit, but he is still rocking and rolling in this list. Definitely choose to play it. And then finally, we got our synchro lineup. So there are going to be turns, especially if you open with those Red Rose Dragons, that you can end on all three of these guys, all right? So we've got first and foremost, Mr. Arms of the Genix Return 0. This is such a cool level 10 synchro where he banishes per attribute in the graveyard, and once per turn per attribute, you can negate and destroy a monster effect with it. Insane. And again, you're locking and loading all the different attributes with your Dragon Rulers, with one exception being light, which really sucks. We can struggle against Nibiru without the adventure package. I'm going to be honest about that up front. Then we've also got Mr. Despater. Shout out Mike Stallone, still owe you for this guy. Don't worry, we're gonna take care of you. This is an extender and an interrupt. I think you all know what this guy does. He sees play in a lot of different Dragon style decks. And then finally, we got Mr. Chang Yang, which I still owe Pete for this one as well. This one is important because he goes so well with the Gen X here, so you can use this to trigger his effect to get the removal piece. And he also gets massive when you're banishing more and more stuff. He's gaining attack points, so this guy can be a real good game ender. And that's everything for the extra deck, but I want to bring things to a close with the side. Again, your results will vary depending on where you're choosing to play the deck. There are some things in here that I might consider changing as well. Triple copies of the Droll and Lockbird. Ugh, we hate this card as Drytron players, but it's okay. We got to play it to stop all those other combo decks. In my opinion, this is a good one. It's another attribute we can choose to use. I'll also mention up front, I don't have any of the Mulcharmy cards, the Numax Cs. I don't currently own them. If you had them, I would play them because they're also attributes that support our Dragon Rulers, so you can put them in the main or the side. Just flagging that right now. If budget's not an issue for you, put those cards in. They're pretty strong. But for our intents and purposes, Droll gets the same job done. I'm also choosing to play Board Breakers in the side, so I've got the triple copies of Dark Ruler here. I'm choosing to play the ones that aren't high cost. Droplets is a little bit trickier because you kind of want to hold hand advantage. Again, Dragon Ruler is a very old engine. You kind of need to retain some of that value in hand to get the most out of the package itself. So we need something that's a bit more free in terms of interruption negation, and that's why I think Dark Ruler is a little stronger. And the same thing goes for our blowouts like Lightning Storm, the 2 of, and then the 1 copy of the Harpy's Feather Duster to deal with back row or front row. Next, I'm playing 2 copies of the Triple Tactics Talent. This is awesome going first or second, depending on the matchup. Also siding triple copies of D-Barrier. Ritual decks, Synchro decks, Fusion decks, you name it, we're dealing with it. And then the last card in the side deck, you could probably guess this one is 1 copy of Skill Drain, because back in the day, Skill Drain plus Dragon Rulers was an insane strategy. You're just putting up big beaters, swinging down your opponent's life points. That strategy still holds true today. So when you know you're going first, you're always bringing in this card. But that is everything for the Dragon Ruler profile. I'm not going to send you home yet. I want to show you one single combo to bring us home where we're using a rank 7 to put up some easy interruptions. Let's do it. All right, everyone, I couldn't really think of a good way to demonstrate this combo without leaving some options on the table, so this is just going to be a really weird way to start it, but the whole point is when you get to a rank 7 or your 1 Draco sack, I'm going to show you what that can lead to. So it's a pretty easy and simple combo. You probably have already guessed it if you're a little bit more experienced with the cards we showed so far, but for those of you who aren't, I wanted to demonstrate it real quick. So in this situation, I'm only going to use Fenrir Search Unicorn and then pitch that for our baby dragon here, of course, as a demonstration of the fact that Fenrir can fill your gaps for any of the attributes that you need to summon a Dragon Ruler, and for the point of just getting us to a rank 7. But you have so many options of making rank 7s in this deck. You're going to know it as you play the deck, so I encourage you to practice with it, and you'll see the lines appear as you continue to test. But the whole point is we're going to overlay these 2 guys and summon out Draco Sack. And Draco Sack is the main enabler here. We detach off of him and he summons out the 2 Draco Sack tokens. Now these tokens are level 3s, right? So you can use these to make Cherubini for 100% free. Again, shout out Team Sam, this was a really good idea. So we stick the Cherubini up on the top, and then Cherubini's effect sends for cost the Water Enchantress from deck to grave. So that gives us free access to the Omni Negate that comes with this package. So we banish it, that searches Rite of Armesier. We activate that card, that's going to throw up the Fateful and summon ourselves one of those tokens. So here I'm just going to use Mr. Celtic Guardian as our token for all intents and purposes. So in this situation you could use the Draco Sack and the Cherubini, but since we have the Tempest live in grave for this example, I'm going to banish our 2 Winds from the grave to special summon out Tempest. We haven't summoned it off its effect yet, only off of the baby. That's going to trigger off the Fateful Adventure, which lets you search your Draco back. Then we can use Fateful's other effect to search off the Wandering Biffin Rider, and then we can send the Draco back from hand to grave. That'll re-equip itself to the token. Then we can special summon the Biffin Rider like so, since we control an adventure token. Then we can finish off the board using the Tempest and the Draco Sack that we left on lock to make our friend Silhouette Rabbit, which is going to line up additional forms of interruption. We're going to put that Azure Rune in the Spell and Trap zone, and we get 2 more interruptions out of this, because if we keep the Silhouette Rabbit on field, when we special summon the Azure Rune, we're going to get a free Spell and Trap pop out of that. We also get the inherent special summon negation off of Azure Rune, and we do have that Omni Negate off of the Griffin Rider. So this is not a lot of interruptions. It may not seem like a lot, but the fact that we're doing this just off of the Draco Sack is pretty insane. And all of these engines support one another in the deck. So there's so many small intricacies that you're going to find out as you test with this build, like how powerful having Birth is, how the fact that Griffin Rider is a 7 and a Wind can both come up. It's a ton of fun to play with. So everyone, if you have been trying to find a way to make Dragon Rulers work in 2024, give this deck a try, work it into your own playstyle, and just have fun with it. That's kind of been my spirit with this deck and with the game in general right now. So I'm just trying to have fun with the archetypes that mean a lot to me. So this is a way that I was able to do it with Dragon Rulers. Let me know what you think in the comments section down below. Without further ado, Logan JYA signing off. Have a great day. I'll see you beautiful people later. Peace.